extra inning homers by a catcher in the World Series. JT Realmuto with the first since the legendary, the epic 1975 Game 6 home run. It was a walk-off in the bottom of the 12th by Carlton Fisk. Waved it fair. I know you can think of the images right now if you're a diehard baseball fan. If not, it was pretty awesome. It's pretty epic. JT Realmuto with a pretty epic night in Game 1 of the World Series to give the Phillies a 1-0 series lead on the road in Houston. And let's get right to the site. Welcome in former MLB Executive of the Year, CBS Sports baseball insider Jim Bowden, who joins us from Minute Maid Park. And Jim, I want to start with the starter, Justin Verlander, cruising through 3. What happened? What did you see? What went wrong for the future Hall of Famer?
Yeah, Akeem, the first 10 batters of the game, he dominated, got all of them out, and his fastball was overpowering, and he was using his fastball more than his secondary pitches. And then when he got to the 4th inning and he started to go around the lineup the second time, he changed the way he was pitching and wanted to bring in the breaking balls, the curveball, the slider. The problem is neither of those breaking balls were working, and in fact, every run he gave up, all of them came on a breaking ball. Not one came on a fastball. He didn't make the adjustment. And then I felt like Dusty Baker didn't take him out soon enough. I mean, I think we saw in the 4th inning the breaking balls weren't working. And then once the hitters knew that he only had the fastball, well, that's not going to work in the big league. So he unfortunately was left in too long. I understand that Dusty wanted him to get through 5, but he just didn't have it. Unfortunately, on this night, just didn't have either one of his breaking pitches.
Yeah, he commanded the top of the zone in innings 1 through 3, but then you're right, just could not find the command he needed, and the World Series woes continue for Justin Verlander. Aaron Nola went 4 1/3. You could make the same argument for at least for Rob Thompson that maybe he should have left him in a couple more batters. He did not. What did you make of the aggressive bullpen management from Rob Thompson?
Yeah, it was interesting because Nola got the last 7 outs the batters that he faced, and he finally started to get locked in, which I thought was he was going to leave him in. But I love what Rob Thompson, the manager, did because he basically sat there and said, look, I am going to shut down Yordan Alvarez and Kyle Tucker under every circumstance. He used Jose Alvarado. He took Nola out. Why? He wanted Alvarado to face those 2 lefties. And then he said, I'm going to take my Game 3 starter, my 3rd best starter, and I'm going to bring him the next time Alvarez and Tucker come up because the game's tied 5-5. I want to just shut them down. So then he used Suarez there. Now, does that mean Suarez isn't going to start Game 3? Maybe you push him to Game 4? Maybe. But what Thompson did tonight, he made it very clear. He's going to do everything he can to win each game at a time. And Suarez and Alvarado were big in this ball game, being able to keep it tied as we went to extra innings.
Yeah, 5 2/3 of scoreless baseball. They gave up 4 hits, punched out 6 as the Phillies bullpen, again, once a punchline, and now they are getting it done here in the postseason. Speaking of getting it done, how about the play by Nick Castellanos in the bottom of the 9th to save the game? What was that like watching it from your perspective?
Yeah, I mean, that was the whole game right there. The entire game right here. It is right here. Castellanos coming in, diving in the ball right here. If it lands, Houston's going to win the ball game. That was the game saver right there by Castellanos.
Did you see Schwarber motion to Castellanos to move in a bit? We saw him on a replay. I mean, that's what we're talking about here, Jim. This defense, which had been a question mark for some early part of the season, and now you've got Alec Bohm making plays. You got Nick Castellanos making plays. He made a similar play in the NLDS against the Braves. He comes on and makes a game-saving catch. And you talk about alignment and how critical that is in the World Series. That's it right there.
Yeah, positioning done really well by Bobby Dickerson, the infield instructor. This is a guy that has worked really hard. You talked about the 2 plays Alec Bohm made. They were phenomenal. Those are plays that Bohm would not have made earlier in the season. A lot of hard work. But remember what they did in that 10th inning, right? They took Bohm out. They put Sosa at 3rd base. So as much as he's made progress, they still don't completely trust the defense there, at least at 3rd base. But look, the Phillies made the plays. They have this entire postseason. They make the plays that they get to, that they need to make. They've got to win with their offense, and they've got to win with that pitching staff that they have, and that's exactly what they did in this game. Their offense outscored the Houston Astros, and that was the difference in the game.
Jim, it looked like this game was going to be the Kyle Tucker game. Instead, it was the JT Realmuto game. What did you see from the catcher able to work the count against Luis Garcia and really come up clutch when the Phillies needed it, as he has been throughout this playoffs?
Yeah, I think the thing that impressed me the most was the job he did behind the plate, to be honest with you. I mean, Hakeem, the way he was framing pitches and stealing strikes all night behind the plate, he just called a phenomenal game. And he had a lot to do with that bullpen that you just talked about that beat the Astros bullpen tonight. That was more about Realmuto, or as much about Realmuto as it was the pitchers. And then, of course, there you are in the 10th inning, and Realmuto, who always gives you a good at-bat, looking for the ball on the outside part of the plate and then driving it the other way. Didn't try to do too much. Got really good backspin on that ball, and it was able to get out of the reach of Kyle Tucker for the home run on the game-winning hit.
Jim, what did this win mean for Philadelphia? It's one game. What does it mean?
Oh, I think it's a huge game. I mean, to be able to come in here and win one of the two, that means you go back to Philadelphia with a chance. And then you've got your number one pitcher, Zach Wheeler, on the mound in game two. And it puts you in a really good position. Wheeler in the last series started 2 games, and he only made 2 bad pitches in both starts combined. That's how good Zach Wheeler has been absolutely dominant with a fastball and the slider. So they're in a really good position right now. Getting a split would be perfect. Now if they can win 2 to bring it back to Philadelphia, they certainly are going to make this World Series into something that's not going to end quickly.
Yeah, Zach Wheeler against Framber Valdez in game 2. Of course, the pressure now on Valdez to get the split. How does that help Wheeler in this situation in terms of, because you got a great opportunity to go up 2-0 going back home where you haven't lost at home all postseason?
Yeah, I mean, look, they're going to take each game individually. I mean, both of these pitchers are top of the rotation pitchers. Wheeler is the ace of the Philadelphia Phillies, as we know. And then on the other side, Framber Valdez, nobody has a better curveball in baseball than Valdez does. And he learned a cutter this year that he uses against left-handed hitters. Be interesting to see tomorrow how that's going to play against Harper and Schwarber, because that's going to be a very important pitch to him. But you've got 2 pitchers that are capable of going 6-7 innings deep. And I think both teams, after using their bullpen tonight, are hoping to get length from the bullpen. Of course, they will get an off day on Sunday, a travel day, as they head back to Philadelphia on Monday. But I think both managers are going to hope they get a little bit of length, at least from both of those starters tomorrow.
Jim, I think this is a backbreaker. This has been the calling card of the Phillies all postseason. They get you in a game. You think they're out of it. They are relentless. Like, if they win tomorrow, series is over, Jim. I mean, this team is relentless. The way they're playing right now, their roster.
It's not over if they go up 2-0.
Okay. Look at the
Hakeem,
magical season.
If either team went up 2-0, it's not over.
All right.
It is a magical season, but you're disrespecting the 100-win Astros. You're disrespecting what they've done. This is the first game Houston's lost this entire postseason. First game. They won every other game, and they sat here in this game. They had the tying run at third, the winning run at second with 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th inning. You can't sit there and take one game and all of a sudden tell me the series is gone over, Akeem. No, you can't do that.
I like to rile you up. There. They were up 5-0. 5-0. Jim, you know how many times a team had won a game when they were 5-0 postseason? 589-18. Now it's 589-19. You got to win that game for the Astros.
Yeah. Hey, it was a good game. I mean, let's give a lot of credit. That's what the Phillies offense can do. And the thing about the Phillies offense is they can hit 1-9 up and down that lineup. They grind at bats. They work the count deep. I thought they did really well, that offense. But look, this was a well-fought game on both sides, and the bullpens on both sides were just ridiculously dominant, as we've expected. Now, the question becomes, if, during a 7-game series, will the Phillies bullpen get exposed when you're using a starter to come in to pitch in a game game 1 like this? And number 2, they don't have a lot of depth outside of the relievers they used in this game, whereas the Astros are just loaded with arms that they can throw at you that they didn't use in this game. And I think that bullpen depth that Houston has will show up later in this series.
Get your goggles ready. You might need your goggles when I meet you there in Philadelphia. I know you're in Houston right now, but when I meet you in Philadelphia, get your goggles ready, because we might be popping some bubbly there for the Phillies.
Well, first of all, I'm never a fan of goggles. I like the sting, right? I mean, if you're gonna win, you might as well take the sting,
You're right. You're right. We're getting ahead of ourselves. That was a fun game. It was an awesome game. I'm glad you were able to wrap it up for us here on CBS Sports HQ. We'll see you Saturday night for Game 2, Jim. Great work. Great stuff from Jim. Great perspective from Minute Maid Park. And back at Minute Maid Park for Game 2, Framber Valdez this postseason, 1.42 ERA. Zach Wheeler's been just as good, 1.78 ERA. They'll go head-to-head in Game 2 as the Houston Astros will look for the split before the series moves to Philadelphia.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.